What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Off the Couch Boxing. This is the place to come if you want expert, that's right, expert analysis, predictions, views, opinions on all things fight game. I am your host, Rex Ruger 2.0.
And I'm your other host, Frank Bengz, back with another episode.
Yes, indeed. And as people,
got a good one today, folks.
Yeah, we do got a good one. It's always a good day when guests stop by and chop it up with us on Off the Couch Boxing. It's always an honor and a privilege. Any guy, as you all know, our view on boxing is it's a sport we're passionate about. Any guy that steps through those ropes deserves the utmost respect. And while we're waiting for our guest to get in here, man, I will certainly say that this guy in particular deserves a lot of respect, not just for getting in between those ropes, but for who he has stepped in those ropes against.
Right.
Some of the all-time greats of his era, at least when he was fighting, and when he was fighting, it was at light heavyweight. But we'll certainly, when he joins us here, we'll get into the specifics of the fights. But certainly a star-studded list. I mean, when you've got Roy Jones Jr. and Antonio Tarver and James Lights Out Toney on your resume, I mean, that's pretty special.
Yes, it absolutely is.
That's pretty special. And, there's certainly something to be said for climbing through those ropes, as I said. But when you climb through those ropes against bona fide killers. And let's face it, man, these guys are bona fide killers, all of them. When you can boast that kind of a resume, and there are guys with great resumes out there, no doubt about it, man. I mean, there are guys who just, fought everybody in their era. Certainly, he doesn't have the market cornered on having a great resume, but I look at a guy like Roy Jones Jr. And he's here now. So, we will dispense with the formalities. We'll get him in here and chop it up, and you can hear it right from the man himself. God willing, we'll get him in here. And there he is. What's going on, champ?
Everything good.
Good. It's so good to see you, MONTELL. And when we were leading up to you joining us here, we were just telling our audience, about just the phenomenal names that are on your resume. But before we get to those guys and we break down any of your career, what is going on? And this is something that I actually just found out about. You have a fight coming up with the great MMA legend Mark Coleman. Is this still on?
As of right now, I talked to Damon from y'all can see me and hear me?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
How come it's so small? How come I can't get it bigger?
You could turn your phone maybe or your screen. There you go.
Yeah. Bigger. All right, I ain't gonna worry. Oh, there you
go. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I talked to Damon from Celebrity Boxing. There's a little worry because of the COVID.
Yep.
So they said they're gonna push it back. He said maybe like January.
Okay.
I think it's January 20th or something, but I'm talking to another group too about doing something like an exhibition in November. So I'm gonna stay in the gym and just stay close.
What is the impetus of you fighting at 53 years old? Is it more just exhibition? Do you still feel a competitive edge and a yearning to get in there?
Well, you know what? I'm real small. I'm down like 185, 187 right now. So it's like it's easy for me to go in the gym and train and spar and all that. So it's really just for fun.
Yeah.
You know, Mark Coleman's not a boxer; he's an MMA guy.
Right.
I know I can't go in the cage and do nothing to him. So, you know what I'm saying? If he agreed to get in the ring, you know what I'm saying, I was gonna have a little fun, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Throw some punches and you know, just like I said, just have some fun.
Anything you think specifically in Mark Coleman's game that'd be easy to exploit in from a boxing standpoint?
Everything.
I was just gonna ask you, champ. You gonna go easy on him or what?
Nah, that's what I said, man. I'm not. Look, man. I like I said, I'm not an MMA guy. I know I can't get in that cage and do nothing to him. You know what I'm saying? So he get in the ring. I'm gonna make it as easy as possible. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to hurt nobody or nothing. Just have some fun. I'm a defensive fighter, so I like making people miss and move around. But I real talk, man. I'm just trying to stay young, man. I'm just gonna be honest.
Aren't we all, champ? Aren't we all?
I run 3 days a week. My weight is down. I eat good. So you know, it ain't hard.
Yeah. Now, in preparation of us talking to you today, certainly, you know, I watched back some of your fights, highlights of fights or whatever, and it's interesting that you say a defensive-minded fighter who likes to make people miss. Because what I got from that first Roy Jones fight, and of course, people may remember that was the one where Roy got disqualified in round 9, hitting you while you were down. But leading up to that, though, you were trading with Roy, and I was just telling Bengz before we came on here, you were really fucking throwing and putting everything behind those punches, man. Was there something, that you saw in Roy that made you think that really pressing him like that would be effective?
Well, Roy, we know Roy is probably, but Roy and Cassius Clay are probably the most God-given fighters as far as talent and ability.
I agree.
I got in the ring with him. His hand speed was phenomenal. I couldn't believe how fast he was, but I'm a defensive guru. I'm a master, bro.
Yeah,
I stood right in front of that man. He couldn't hit me, and I picked up my speed level. I'm not gonna say I'm faster than him, but I was faster, but I was just as fast as him. But I matched speed with him to be able to, continue with that fight.
Yeah, to expound on that point about the round 9, him hitting you when you were down. Do you feel like you were definitely a little wobbled at that point? Do you feel like if he wouldn't have hit you those 2 times, do you think you would have gotten up then? And do you think you would have ultimately survived?
Yeah, I got hit back in the head. I got hit in the back of the head. So, and I'm not blaming him or nothing. It was a split-second decision. It was either block with the right hand or roll with it. I tried to roll with it. I got caught in the back of the head. And I just told myself, I said, Montel, you winning this fight.
I said,
so let's just take a knee. Let's take a knee, and then we got to win the last 3 rounds. And that's what I did. I felt like I wasn't in no danger, and I was just a little dizzy.
And of course, a lot was made about 2 signature wins over the great James "Lights Out" Toney. The first one, a majority decision. The second one, a unanimous decision. What was the magic formula for beating James Toney? A lot like you, a great defensive fighter and not an easy guy to hit. What was the secret to beating him?
I'm a great fighter, bro. I'm a defensive wizard.
Fair enough, champ. I'm not going to argue with you.
I boxed 4 years when I beat James Toney. I boxed 4 years.
Yeah.
I boxed amateur 2 years, and I was pro 2 years.
Incredible.
James Toney.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's an incredible story, champ.
To that first James Toney fight, it seemed like you were pressing the action a lot in that one too. It seemed like a lot of that fight was like fought in a phone booth, so to speak.
Right. It's just about two masters. Whoever made the first mistake. I made the first mistake. I threw a right hand when I come back to left hook. He counted me and he hurt me in the 3rd round because the fight was going a little too easy than I thought, and I got a little big headed. So I threw a right hand. He counted me, but then I woke back up and I went back to business. And I stayed. I had never fought like that a day in my life. And I fought James. So I stood in front of James Toney and boxing and stood right in front of him and slugged with him.
I'm glad you said that because that was kind of what I was curious about. If you would have thought that
I had never fought like that. I had never fought like that a day in my life.
Yeah. Right. That's not your usual game plan.
Nah, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was my second 12-round fight, and I think I overtrained a little bit. I told Eddie Futch after the fight that I said, man, my legs is dead. My legs is dead. And after that fight, I cut down from 4 miles to 3 miles. So my legs a little dead. I'm not making no excuse, but my legs a little dead. So I stood there and fought him, but I just kept my eyes open. Just kept my hands up, rolled the punches, tried to make them miss, make them pay. And I mean, the first fight, which it was a majority decision, but it should have been unanimous because I knocked him down and they just called it. The same thing Roy Jones did to James Toney, I did to him, but mine wasn't a knockdown.
Yeah.
I hit him and he fell into the ropes. That's a knockdown.
Well, in that second fight, it seemed like you were even better than the first fight, and that's why probably the UD. And I was curious, I saw a lot more of your counter left hand was coming into the mix in that second fight. Was that something you picked up on from the first fight and carried over?
The first fight, I had 14 pro fights. The second fight, I had 26 pro fights. So, it's just different. I was better, and I just picked them apart. It was a unanimous decision, wasn't even close. I picked them apart. I took the man to school.
I love that. I mean, come on, you can't argue with that.
Champ, respectfully.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, Champ, I love the fact that in this interview, all I'm seeing in all of our frames is smoke. I love this.
It's the greatest thing in the world.
Greatest thing in the world. Now, I want to hear it from you here, Champ, though, because obviously a lot more athletes are coming out about the benefits of marijuana. For you personally in your life, health benefit wise, what do you feel like it does for you?
But first, I'm gonna say this. What it does for me. But first, I'm gonna say this, man. I wish all them years I was boxing, I was drinking. I wish I wasn't drinking. I wish I was just smoking.
Yeah,
it would have changed a lot. All that weight loss, and you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Man, I was just talking to a guy, a weed connoisseur last night. We was at a party, and I said he was saying that he said weed sometimes don't make them high. I said, sometimes you got to switch it up. You know what I'm saying? Be smoking the same stuff. I said, but marijuana, it's like it's not like drinking. I mean, you drink, you get drunk, and you overdo it, and you feel terrible. Yep. Marijuana is the greatest thing in the world. Marijuana makes music better to me. It makes food taste better to me.
Yeah.
It makes sex better.
Yeah.
It's
Amen,
the greatest
champ.
thing in the world. It curbs my appetite.
I like that. I like that answer because it's not just one thing; it's everything.
Man,
yeah.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah,
I kind of tell it's a lifestyle, man.
Yeah. I agree with you. But so when you're training now and staying active and running, do you notice that it helps with the other intangibles that people talk about, inflammation and recovery and healing and relaxation and all that stuff?
Yeah, I had a bad back, bad hands, sore legs and everything. Like I said, it curbs my appetite. It makes me not hungry.
God, I got to get that strain.
No, I actually find the same thing. If I'm hungry and I go out and smoke, I won't be hungry.
Yeah.
I think it's a mindset.
If I got a choice between smoking or eating, I'm gonna smoke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then I'm gonna eat just enough not to die.
Yeah.
That's how
Now you competed at light heavyweight. Are you somebody now that now that you're removed from the sport, you're somewhat removed from the sport? Are you somebody that keeps an eye on what's going on in boxing right now?
Yeah, I keep it. I'm not into it like I used to be, like keeping up with the up and coming guys.
Yeah.
Once the guys make it on top, I watch them and everything. Yeah, I keep it to it. I mean, I'm really.
Who you like it right now? Who's your favorite fighter right now, champ?
I guess you could say Canelo and Earl was my two favorites.
Yeah.
I like that. Earl's my favorite fighter too. And
so with that being said, you as a guy that stepped through those ropes and competed in that ring, a lot has been made in boxing media recently about how Errol looked going into that fight with Crawford. Did you see anything with him, being as that you like him so much? And do you think that a rematch is warranted?
Well, okay. Right off the bat, every person who asked me who was going to win that fight, this is what I started off with. I said, if God bless Earl with one more fight at 147, then he got a chance of winning.
Yep.
But he didn't.
Yep.
When I saw Earl getting ready in the dressing room, getting ready to walk out, I said he lost. It's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said he ain't, and like Roy Jones made a comment, he said, ain't nobody in a $100-mile-an-hour accident gonna be the same man again.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? He that Ugas fight might have took the last juice he had left.
Yeah.
I'm not taking nothing away from Bud Crawford. He's a great fighter. He beat the man fair and square. But him and Bomac knew that Earl wasn't the same no more.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when they say everybody gonna make excuses or say whatever after the fight because they know that's the truth. You know what I'm saying? But the kid stayed. I just think he stayed at 147 too long.
And do you think if they run this back at 154, the result would be different?
I hope Earl Spence never fight again. It's over.
Okay.
It's gonna be worse.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. I thought after that one, the way he was lumped up.
If they just looked at the tape of the fight, how he looked, like I was thinking to myself, I'm like, how is Derek looking at him normal when he was wrapping his hands? I'm like, no, you look at this man, you know he ain't looking right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they said the doctor said it was a neurological from the accident. I mean, the man looked like he was high.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I agree with you. Yeah.
So how did he even pass the physicals to fight?
Right.
I don't understand. I guess the drying out and drying out and getting all that water out of his body, maybe that brought it out.
Yeah.
Because he looked good all through camp.
Now, what about guys that are competing at your old stomping ground, light heavyweight? Do you keep up with like the Arter Beater Beeves, the Beeballs?
What I don't understand is how come nobody's making a big deal about B-Ball and Better BF not fighting.
I mean,
amen, champ. Amen, champ. We've been calling for it forever.
Yeah.
Why isn't that fight scheduled?
And as a matter of fact, a couple weeks ago, we had Beater Beef's trainer on here, John Iceman Scully, and we asked him the same thing, and he said, absolutely, it's a fight that has to happen.
I mean, we didn't see Spinks and Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? We didn't see Bo and Lennox. You know what I'm saying? We didn't see Tyson and Tua.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fights that we missed out on, man. And B-Ball, Better BF is he's just a tough ass puncher.
Yeah.
Because he don't have no skills at all.
Yeah, he's just a wrecking ball.
He's just a wrecking ball. He don't.
Yeah.
Against his last fight when he got hurt, that's the first time I really seen like, man, this guy really can't really fight too good.
Yeah.
But he can punch so good.
He's just
always in the fight.
Yeah. A hellacious puncher. Yeah. A hellacious puncher.
First, everything I told everybody, I said, if B-Ball don't get hit, he'll play with him.
Yeah. B-Ball's very skilled. Yeah.
No, if he don't get caught and get knocked out, he win in the fight.
Is there a guy out there that, I mentioned all the names on your resume, and there were even some that I didn't get to, the Antonio Tarvers, you got a lot of guys, Glenn Johnson, you got a lot of guys in there who, in your mind, and some people might just automatically go right to a guy like Toney or Roy Jones, but who would you say was your toughest opponent? Maybe it's not even one of those guys.
Well, I mean, because of my experience level, like I said, I fought James Toney only 14 pro fights.
Yeah, that's incredible.
My 14th pro fight, I fought a guy named Ray Lathan. Ray Lathan got killed. He was undefeated. He was 14-0 with 13 knockouts. He dropped Holyfield in sparring. He's the hardest puncher. To this day, I sparred 5 heavyweight champs, and don't nobody hit harder than Ray Lathan. And after that fight, he getting hit and getting knocked down the first time. After that fight, I knew I was ready for anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
So I said that was my toughest fight because it was my first time I got hurt. You know what I'm saying? I was fighting a big puncher, and it was a big fight. It was the Budweiser tournament at the Forum. It used to be real big back in the days. You got a car and 25,000. So it was a big tournament. And I beat Ray in the championship. And after that fight, I said, man, I'm ready for whoever.
Now, 2023 has been a huge year for boxing so far. You know, it seems like people are finally starting to make good fights, and they're not concerned about losing their O. They're getting in there, and they're making great matchups. Are there any fights that we've seen this year that stick out in your mind, or ones that are coming up that you're looking forward to?
Well, I mean, I'm just glad guys are fighting. You know what I'm saying? We saw Loma and Devin. We saw Ryan Garcia and Tank. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
We just to me, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Earl. I mean, I'm a fan of Earl Spence, and I'm a fan of boxing. And that was one of the saddest depression fights I've ever seen in my life.
I agree with you.
And
I agree. I thought it was going to be much
like
more competitive.
I felt like that from round one before it started.
Yeah.
But that was terrible. But I mean, guys are doing it now, so maybe you know what I'm saying. Maybe we get some more fights.
Well, I mean, I'd be remiss not to ask you when we got you here, and it's coming up in like what, 2 weeks. What's your prediction on Charlo Canelo?
Man, Canelo seems like he's slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
Seems like he's slowing down.
Charlo looks good.
Man, I would not be surprised if Charlo win this fight.
Yeah.
You know, everybody making a big deal about the weight. The weight don't mean nothing because Charlo, them guys coming down for 200 pounds anyway.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing I couldn't. The lowest I could get down was 172. I couldn't make 68. If I made 68, I think I would have been a way, way better fighter. But these guys like Earl Spence. I was in Vegas when Floyd fought Conor McGregor. I was 200 pounds and Earl was my size.
Yeah.
I said, bro, how do you make 147?
Yeah.
These guys, I don't know what they're doing now. They killing themselves. They coming all the way down, making those weights and still being strong. So it's I don't think it was gonna make a big difference with Charlo and Canelo.
Is that the biggest? Is that really the most daunting thing for a fighter? You know, to have to make weight. Is that one thing that you're happy about now post boxing? I mean, was that very difficult for you?
I mean, I was small, so you know what I'm saying. Like I said, I was 72, 73, so I didn't have no problem making 75.
Yeah,
I didn't grow into 75 to maybe after 10 years I was pro already.
Yeah.
So my whole amateur career, I was 172. I gave up 6 pounds every time I fought. So I was my own worst enemy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My biggest regret, and I heard Jesse Reed say it one time. He said MONTELL Griffin can go a long way as long as he don't rely on his abilities. And a few fights, I knew I was better than people, and I go up to 205. Got to kill myself to make weight and
Yep.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, that's all right. He's got 35.
Yeah. So I was going up to 205, had to get down to 175, man, and it just killed me.
Were you surprised when were you surprised in that first Toney fight when they turn in a card and one of the judges has it a draw?
Yeah. I really, to myself, I mean, to be honest, fighting that fight, I thought I won the fight. I don't think it was close. As like I said, I didn't get credit for a knockdown, and you know when they said draw, I just said okay, they're gonna rob me.
Yeah.
So, when they said draw, I said they're gonna rob me. So
yeah,
when other cards came out and I won, it was just man. Like I said, I was a kid, man. I started boxing, man. I quit boxing in 1983.
I mean, obviously it was in your head, and I feel like
I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing for
judging
8. I didn't do nothing for 8 years. I didn't do nothing for 8 years. I came back. I came back in 1991 after being off since 1983.
Yeah.
In 2 years, I made the Olympic team. In 4 years, I beat James Toney. Come on, man. That's
crazy.
Man, that's crazy. I don't get no credit for this, man.
Now, what was your point, Benji, that you were saying that was kind of in his head?
No, I was saying that like the scoring, like he was saying he might get robbed. Like he thought he was going to get robbed.
When I said it was a draw.
I feel like that's prevalent in today's boxing. Like all the time, guys are getting robbed, and judging and refereeing is terrible.
It is. It's bad. It's bad. Yeah. It is pretty bad. Thankfully, man, we got people now finally starting to speak out on it. We just recently had Stephen Breadman Edwards on here. And he was calling those kind of things on the carpet as well. I think if people aren't vocal about it, it doesn't get fixed. But it is unfortunately kind of a black cloud over the game. I mean, bad refereeing, bad stoppages, bad scores.
Still going on to this day.
Still going on. Yeah.
And when will it change?
Yeah, when and how does it change?
Until the government step in to take over and get a organizer, get a commissioner, and put people in place, it's always gonna be like this.
Yeah,
because all these promoters, all the people work for the promoters, so they're gonna do whatever the promoter wants.
Yep. Now, for you, outside of the Mark Coleman fight that you've got, in the works, hopefully that comes off. What besides that, what's life after boxing been like for you? Like, what are you doing these days?
Man, are you
involved in any facet of boxing, training, anything like that? Anybody else?
I have a boxing gym. I have a boxing gym here in Chicago. It'll be over 6 years in December.
Okay.
Clarence Griffin, Woody City Boxing Club. I go to the gym 5-6 days a week, work with the kids, and I got the gym and other couple of investments, that take care.
And a lot gets talked about. You always hear the word in all sports, not just boxing. You always hear the word GOAT thrown around. GOAT, this guy's the GOAT, that guy's the GOAT. In your mind, who is the GOAT of boxing?
I mean, man, it's just crazy, man. When you Muhammad Ali is called the GOAT because what he did outside the ring.
Right.
He's a 3-time world champion in the ring. But okay. It's just how people look at it. I mean, when people say, oh, he the best, and that's what everybody stick to and everything, then you hear everybody talk about Ray Robinson. The way I look at it, a guy with 19 losses can't be the greatest fighter ever. I know he fought 200 times, but he got 19 losses, and in the 20s and 30s, they didn't train as hard as we did now.
Right.
I mean, it's just so hard to judge and compare. But one thing, as I've gotten older, and I didn't feel like this a while ago, but I've gotten older, I'm kind of cool with Floyd Mayweather being the GOAT. I mean, I heard him say something. It made me think. He said, people are going to hold it against me because I don't have brain damage. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't, I didn't want to, live my life right, and I want to be safe and healthy and everything. I'm like, and he said some stuff. I said, man, it kind of made sense. You know what I'm saying? And he's also the greatest businessman ever too in boxing. So, I mean, I don't have no problem with Floyd being the GOAT.
And plus, you as a defensive-minded fighter, you certainly must appreciate that what Floyd has done is really what boxing is really what it boils down to. Hit and not get hit.
Right, because his defense, he doesn't have brain damage.
Yeah, nobody said you have to knock everybody out. They just said you have to win.
He said y'all gonna hold it against me because I don't have brain damage like Muhammad Ali.
That's
and
a great
I thought
point.
about it, I'm like, that's your whole goal is to go in the fight. I mean, going as a career and be safe, and because boxing is life at the boxing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because it is important for guys out there to to understand that you want to retire with your faculties. I think Floyd gets knocked a lot for not having knockdown, drag out wars with people. But is that the smart thing to do? I mean, really, it's not.
I'm saying that's why I sat down and I started listening to what he's saying, and it made sense to me.
Yeah.
It made sense to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm one guy. I'm a kid. I was around Muhammad Ali from 5 years old to 13 years old. I saw him change. First of all, I saw him in sparring. He just let people just beat on him.
Yeah.
He felt like if he got hit so many times, it would stop hurting. Like he could train himself to be able to take a punch.
Yeah.
Which is the worst thing in the world. And that's why that's why ended up the way he did. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm looking at him, I see it. So it made me stay on my defense.
I'm just saying, champ, I've watched a lot of Floyd Mayweather fights, and going back, I'd rather watch a MONTELL, GRIFFIN, James Toney than any Floyd Mayweather fight I've ever watched.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Hey,
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
I mean, look, man, I
he's
just look.
the GOAT, yes,
I know.
but it's not entertaining.
I just feel like this, man. I know I'm great.
Yeah.
I don't get
No
credit
question.
for being great. I don't get no credit for being great. I know I'm great. I've been in the ring with four Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Mike McCallum, James Toney, Roy Jones, and Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
None of them was head and shoulders above better than me.
Yeah.
And I sparred Floyd and I sparred Mike McCallum. I sparred Mike McCallum plenty of times. You know what I'm saying? It was none that he brought to the table that gave me a problem.
And with that being said, because me and Benji's actually are from upstate New York, the Boxing Hall of Fame is just a 15, 20-minute drive away, man. So we're right here in upstate New York, right in the Hall of Fame's backyard.
I'm not even on the ballot. I'm not even on the Hall of Fame ballot.
I was just going to ask you, with a record of 50 wins, 8 losses, 1 draw, 30 fucking knockouts, do you belong in there, in your opinion?
Man, I beat 2 Hall of Famers. I made the Olympic team with 30 amateur fights.
Yeah.
I beat James Toney with 14 pro fights.
Well, there you go, Benji. We're going to throw another guy on the ballot.
When I fought Roy Jones, I had only fought 6 years.
Yeah.
In my life.
Amazing. That's amazing, champ. That really is.
I started
That's
fighting
crazy.
in 91. I fought Roy in 97.
Yeah, that's insane.
6 years.
That's insane.
Dude, 50-8 in my mind is a Hall of Fame record.
No question.
Look,
I don't mean no disrespect. I never bring up nobody's name, but it's 5 or 6, 7, 8 Hall of Famers whose resume not better than mine.
Agreed.
Absolutely. And no, we've been on here before. Me and him have sometimes discussions where we don't interview people, and we've gone kind of crazy on the Boxing Hall of Fame and kind of tore them up for not getting people in there who deserve to be in.
Man, I've been looking at these fighters' resumes, man. I'm like, this shit is crazy.
Like you mean to tell me, champ, that Holly Holmes in our Hall of Fame, but MONTELL GRIFFIN 50-8. I don't know what her record is, but she ain't a boxer though.
I'm 3-1 against 2 Hall of Famers.
Yeah, and that's incredible right there. As a matter of fact, we just recently argued the merits of Let's Go Champ. We argued for getting Shannon Briggs in there, another guy with a great record who probably belongs in there. I mean, I don't know what you're gonna do.
Shannon got 60 wins.
60 wins, 2-time heavyweight champ, 37 first-round knockouts.
Yeah.
That's a Hall of Fame resume, man.
That's a Hall of Fame resume. He beat George Foreman, for God fucking sake.
Yeah.
What do you got to do? I mean,
yeah, I'm gonna go to Atlantic City and support him for his Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's the best. He owes us an interview on here, man. I've been going back and forth with him. We'll get him eventually. I know everybody wants a piece of the champ, man. He's a busy guy, man. But we'll give him a Let's Go Champ just because we want to get him on here. But, champ, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. And hopefully we can keep in touch and we can do this again from time to time. Wish you the best of luck if this Mark Coleman thing comes off or doesn't come off, man. But we'll be rooting for you, man. Don't hurt him too bad, champ, please.
Nah.
Whatever's coming up in November, keep in touch about that too, because I'd like to watch it whatever way we can.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
Also, one last thing, man.
Sure.
I had a crazy life. I'm not the greatest fighter. I don't have the best life ever, but I'm a guy. I'm a kid from Chicago that made a second chance for his life. I came out with a book. It's called The Ice Life. The link is theicelifebook.com.
Awesome.
Theicelifebook.com is my link, man. There's a story about a kid who made a second chance for himself.
I love it. And I'm an avid reader, and I pour over boxing books, man. So I will be going to check out that link immediately when we are done here. And guess what, champ? You are living your best life. You look like you're doing pretty good, lounging with a nice fucking smoke in your hand, man. Hey, you're doing it, buddy.
I'm chilling like a snowman.
You are, man.
Yes, sir.
You know what? You're chilling like ice. That's exactly who you are. MONTELL Ice Griffin. Yeah.
Respect.
The one and only. Champ, thank you so much for doing this, man. We appreciate you, brother.
And much love.
Oh,
yep,
bro.
much love, brother. Later.
Great.
There he goes, Benji's. There he goes. We just got to smoke with the great MONTELL Ice Griffin. And you know what? I do consider that part interview, part smoking session, man. The champ was smoking with us.
Yep.
One of the all-time greats, man. I don't know. I guess before we sign off here, man, I got the Let's Go Champ hat on, man. But hell, if we're going to be throwing people's names on the ballot, whatever year Shannon goes in, I want to see MONTELL on there too.
Ain't no reason, baby, why he shouldn't be.
No good reason. I mean, he just made a strong claim. I mean, come on, man. 14 fights in your career and you're knocking off James Lights Out Toney.
Right. And then coming back and doing it again.
And then, yeah. And then getting in there, man, fucking, 10, 12 fights later and fighting the great Roy Jones Jr., who you just heard MONTELL say, probably one of the greatest God-given talents ever in boxing. Blessed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, but you certainly can't take nothing away from MONTELL. And I mean, as we said, 50 wins, 8 losses, 1 draw. As they say, 30 big wins coming by way of knockout. Just going over the resume here, say what you want. You got a DQ win over Roy Jones. But as we all know, in the fight game, a win is a win. We're not going to argue the merits of how and why.
Well, you heard him say it. He was taking a knee to collect himself, and then Roy decided to punch him while he was down.
That's on Roy. Yeah. That's on Roy. I mean, Roy should know better. He'd been boxing a long time. You're going to take that element. You hit the guy a couple, not even just one incident where he couldn't pull it short. I mean, he hit him a couple times.
Right.
Teed off
with a big left hand.
Yeah. That's a no-no, Roy. Come on. You know better than that. I don't care how big your left bicep is, man.
You can flex that same bicep all you want, Roy.
Yeah. Don't get me off the couch, Roy. And the other thing, man, 2 signature wins, and going the distance with the great James Lights Out Toney, man. I mean, dude, that right there, man. You want to talk about, like MONTELL is talking about being a great defensive fighter, a guy who will be right in front of you and not get hit. That's pretty much him fighting James Toney is pretty much like him fighting himself, because that's James Toney's philosophy. James Toney can crack, obviously, and so can MONTELL.
If you go back and watch those fights, though, which I know you have, and I know you've seen them, those fights were both fought in a fucking phone booth. They were there.
Yeah, they were. James Toney pulls everybody into a phone booth.
Yep,
everybody.
They were just there throwing.
Yeah.
It was like that. Everybody put one foot in a tire and start punching.
Yeah.
Can't go nowhere.
And I like what he said. Very poignant. And I certainly have gone to great lengths to trash Floyd Mayweather over the years. I have not thought very highly of him, but you know what? Hey, you know what? The champ just kind of convinced me, though, that as much as I don't want to admit this, and as much money as I put into Floyd's coffers to buy pay-per-views, to mainly see him lose and get his just due, ultimately it did never come. I guess you got to say that this guy certainly puts himself, if not the GOAT, certainly in the conversation by retiring with all of his faculties intact. It is the art of hitting and not getting hit. I guess a lot of people knock Floyd for not having those definable Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward type wars. But as I said, do you really want to engage in those?
Right.
Is that really what makes you a great boxer, because you got your brains turned to mush?
No, I mean, because you would think that the idea of a boxer is that he's very good offensively and defensively.
Right. Not careless defensively,
Right.
And Floyd certainly, is one of the guys who is certainly noted for his defense. He could crack a little bit at the lower weights when he was younger, and he certainly did compile some knockouts.
Yeah, you would have to say, though, that his defense turned into offense, and he did that very well.
Absolutely. Yeah, he did. But I don't know. I certainly hope that people out there enjoyed that little chat with the great MONTELL Ice Griffin. And hey, anybody out there that's got any sway or pull or wants to drop a letter in the mail to the International Boxing Hall of Fame committee, I don't know. I'll have to research this a little more and come up with a better answer on our next podcast. But I imagine there's some kind of a committee or a board or something who people go in front of, man. But, I'd like to at least get some clarification on what the merits of a boxer has to be to get himself even on the ballot. Like MONTELL said, he's never even been on a ballot. Shannon Briggs, to the best of my knowledge, not in the Hall of Fame. And I'm sure, if we dug a little bit, we would unearth a lot of other guys who are probably, deserve to be in there.
Right.
And as you heard MONTELL say, and it wasn't to impugn anybody else's career, but his point was that there are a lot of guys with crappier resumes and crappier records that are in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
And he's not wrong.
Absolutely.
But, you know.
On that note, though,
please.
Tomorrow's football. Let's go Bills.
Yeah,
and
whatever.
In the words of
not interested.
In the words of the great Gary Busey, our great American poet, Gary Busey, I should say.
And this is a great quote because this really defines like how tough a person really is. You've reached an elite level of toughness when you ascribe to this Gary Busey quote or bit of poetry.
In the words of our great American poet, Gary Busey, I, Montell Griffin, Gary Busey, and you can all go 15 seconds with anything. And the Arguello puppet.
The Alexis Arguello puppet. Yes, let's get everybody that's in here, man. We want to make sure that everybody knows that bring it on, motherfuckers. We can go 15 seconds with anything. Not 16, not 20, 15 seconds. Bring it on, man, because I'll take you down. Yeah. And on that note, I will end this little soiree with a big buzzang.